Hey, how's everybody doing out there? Thanks for tuning in to a very special presentation here on AFN The Eagle, serving America's best. I'm Senior Airman Chris Duckworth, and I'm proud to present a Salute to the Troops, a Veterans Day special with my special guest, award-winning recording artist, Nelly. So sit back, enjoy the ride, and let's listen to a track off of his second album right now, Nellyville. This one's called Hot in Here. Today, my guest is a multi-platinum, Grammy Award-winning rapper, singer-songwriter, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and actor from St. Louis, Missouri. His name is Cornell Haynes Jr., known professionally as Nelly, and he joins us now. Nelly, thank you for sitting down with me. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
First off, you're doing all these shows. You're out here, you've been entertaining the troops, and you're doing it for a while because this is not the first time I've actually seen you. You probably don't remember it, but I saw you at Yokosuka last year.
Oh, okay.
So you're supporting the military. Why do you place importance on this? Why is this big for you?
Well, you know, actually, I was born on a military base. My father was in the Air Force. I have several family members that served. And I get it, you know, and I understand sometimes when you're far away from home and you're far away from the land that you're protecting, but you're so far away from some of those traditions and just some of those things that you become accustomed to, and the simplest things become some big things when you're not there. And sometimes, you know, if it's people such as myself can come along and just for, you know, even for a couple of hours give you that feeling of just being home a little bit more and being in an environment that is somewhat familiar to you. You know, that's kind of like our way of giving back, so to speak, for all the great service and sacrifices that so many of our men and women do just for us to be able to have this choice.
People might think it's a small gesture, but people really do enjoy these shows. I mean, a little bit of home coming to them like that, so exactly. I really appreciate it. Again.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Now I kind of want to talk a little bit about your career as well. You've been doing this for quite a while. 2000, your first album came out, Country Grammar, huge album. Now, I was 12 at the time, dating myself a little bit there, but I remember it was everywhere. It was all school dance, Country Grammar was playing. Right. So this album came out, tops the Billboard charts for 5 weeks. You sell a bunch of CDs, and I just want to know, like, tell me a little bit about the album. What was some of the inspiration, especially for the title track?
Country Grammar. Well, coming up with the title track at that time was something that played into me trying to get signed. I spent a lot of time in New York City at the time trying to get a record deal. And the production company that I was signed with, called For Real Entertainment, was headed up by a guy by the name of Kuda Love. And at that time, Kuda was, he had just done a lot of work with Biggie in Biggie's early career. Then he'd done a lot of work with Mace. And they used to call him Country, too, because he was a Carolina boy. But he had moved out to New York. And he saw something in us at that time that we were hoping to be seen, so to speak. And I think when we first came out, being in Missouri and being in St. Louis was a more of an undiscovered area, so to speak. Not the Midwest as a whole, because, you know, you had great acts from Cleveland, such as Bone Thugs. You had a lot of great people from Chicago, Twista, a lot of people.
And then the whole Texas scene as well.
Right. Well, Texas is South. I'm talking about Midwest.
Gotcha,
right. I'm talking about the Midwest at that time. And then, obviously, the South had their own thing going. I mean, Texas, Atlanta, Florida, you know, Memphis. They had everybody from South Circle to Rap-A-Lot Records to Trick Daddy down in Miami, and, you know, a lot of things. But in that area, small area, kind of like on the border of southern Midwest. We're like right in that little thin layer where it's like us and Indianapolis, Louisville, Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? We're Midwest recognized, but we're more of a country feel, and we're like right on that border, so to speak. Not a lot of people was making it out of there. You know what I mean? And I thought it was, you know, something that we needed to recognize and tell everybody else that, yo, you know, we may talk a little differently, but, you know, we still can contribute to music and contribute to pop and hip-hop culture as well.
In my opinion, I mean, you put St. Louis on the map. I hadn't really heard of St. Louis until you started coming out.
I appreciate that.
All right, let's hear the song. Country Grammar, coming up right now.
Yo, y'all know what it is. It's your man Nelly. Salute the Troops. A Veterans Day special right here on AFN, The Eagle.
Hey, you're listening to AFN Osan, the Eagles serving America's best, a salute to the troops, a Veterans Day special with Nelly. Of course, after Country Grammar, it's gone 10 times platinum at this point now, so it's a hugely successful album. You followed it up with 2002's Nellyville, and your success continued with that. How was the recording process different with your second album after such a successful debut? Was there a lot of pressure? Was there...
No, I mean, at this point, you don't pretty much understand everything that's taking place, so to speak. I mean, you're happy to be where you are, you're happy for the success, and then you're not knowing what the success is going to end. You do not know where this road is ending, so to speak. And it's always a situation to where you have your whole life to make your first album, and you only have a year or a couple of years to make the next one. And in that process, a lot of things can happen. But I think at that moment, it was a little different because once you see everybody being so accepting of who you are, where you're from, how you were doing your music, and the statement that you were trying to make, it made it a little bit more easier to continue the process.
You had a song on Nellyville, Dilemma, with Kelly Rowland. Huge hit for you. One of the biggest hits of actually that decade. Was this kind of like a gradual maturing of your style, kind of adding duets and things like that?
I mean, it was something that you just... I love to be creative and as far as pushing boundaries. Dilemma was one of those records where if I would have told somebody in my label or somebody that was around me that I wanted to do, they probably would have tried to talk me out of it, because everybody has their own opinion of Nelly. And that's what I think the great thing and that my fans have allowed me to do is like be musically free. Because if you look at all my records, none of them sound alike. None of my singles sound like the next single. Country Grammar don't sound like EI. EI don't sound like Ride With Me. Ride With Me don't sound like Hot in Here. Hot in Here don't sound like Dilemma. Dilemma doesn't sound like Over and Over. Over and Over don't sound like Grills. All my records are fairly different. And in that aspect, and, they were basically new at that time almost.
You don't know what you be sending me. East Coast, you still shaking right. Down south, I see you bouncing right. West Coast, I know you're walking right.
And I like that you mentioned Over and Over because you've worked with some of the biggest names in music, like bar none. And early on, we were talking about you started to kind of evolve into different styles of music, particularly country. Now, how did the Tim McGraw collaboration come about?
Tim McGraw, well, again, being where we're from in the States, we're surrounded by all the music, Obviously, hip-hop was created on the East Coast. It's the mecca of hip-hop. West Coast, put their spill on it. They created the gangster rap. Southern hip-hop came and, it gave more of a dance vibe almost to it. And then you had the Midwest where we kind of were a melting pot for all of it. We kind of took it all and came up with our own little montage of how we feel. And that's the same way with music. Being in Missouri, the Show Me State, we're along the lines of that heartland type of area in there. And country music is huge around that place. And growing up, I had a great appreciation for all music, country, R&B, pop, rock, all of it. And I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to contribute all my influences to whatever it was I was doing. And if it works, great, because I will be the first one to kind of have that. And I think that's what being remembered is, is being the first, not being scared to take the chances. Some of them you're going to win, some of them you're not, but it's like Michael Jordan, you know what I'm saying? You can't be scared to take the last shot. Everybody don't want the ball in their hand when the seconds is running down, but everybody wants the glory of winning the game, and you can't have the glory of winning the game without understanding that you may get the blame for losing it. You know what I mean? So that comes along with it.
Over and over again, 'cause it's all in my head.
So you teamed up with Florida Georgia Line on their remix of Cruise. Huge song. I mean, I think I just played it yesterday on the air. So what was your concept for that song? Just kind of...
Well, we were on the same label, Republic, At that time, I'm no longer with Republic, but at that time I was. And a guy by the name of Monty Littman, who's been with me all throughout my career, he's still a great friend of mine. Even though I'm not over there and he runs the label, he's still a great guy. You know, business is business and had nothing to do with that. But he's somebody who understands me because he's been with me since the beginning. And, you know, he was there when I did Over and Over. He kind of got what my head is at sometimes, and as far as taking chances and doing things nobody has ever done. And obviously I enjoyed the original version of Cruise and Florida Georgia Line. And I'm looking at these young kids and I'm like, wow, you know, first of all, they're great. They're great. They're like my brothers. You know what I'm saying? And I love them to death. And if you talk to them, their influences stem from everybody from Tupac, Biggie to everybody in the world that they do. So it was brought to me, and by the time it was brought to me, the record was probably like 2 million, and it had been #1 on country radio already in their version. And what we did was, it's still a little bit of their version because their vocals are still the same.
Right.
What we did was we redid the beat a little differently, sped the tempo up, and, you know, I did what I did behind it and adding a different flavor to it. And, you know, these guys were well receptive of it. And again, you know, we just had a great energy once we put it all together, and it was something that worked. You know, again, you got to take that chance.
Baby, you a song, you make me want to roll my windows down and cruise.
Yo, check it out. It's your man Nelly listening to Salute the Troops, a Veterans Day special with me. All right, right here on AFN, The Eagle.
Oh, baby girl, last night, hands down, one of the best nights, yeah.
Do you have anything else you would like to kind of say in addition? Or?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you to the men and women for your sacrifice and for your service. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be able to come out here and what I like to say, give back to everyone that's allowed me to live my dreams and protect me and my family, you know, at home in the States, and allow us to be as free as we possibly can be. America is a great place, and we're constantly trying to make it better. You know, it can always be better. You know, we have things that we're going through in the States that we kind of constantly have to, you know, nail down and situate, but there's no other place that I'd rather be. You know, I love home. It's the home of the brave. You know what I mean? So, you know, in that spirit, we're going to keep it going. And, you know, again, I want to thank everyone for the service.
Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me, Nelly. I've had such a good time. It's been a blast. Honestly, I really, really appreciate it. Please take care.
Thank you. You too.
Well, that does it for a Salute to the Troops, a Veterans Day special with Nelly. I'm Senior Airman Chris Duckworth, and from all of us at AFN Osan, whether you're serving now or have in the past, have a happy Veterans Day. We leave you now with one of Nelly's hit singles. Here's Just a Dream.